There's been a ARG that I've kept a steady eye on for a while, and it all started just a few months ago with the release of this video.
Residents of Atomville. A red boy has been spotted in your vicinity. A lockdown is now in place. Keep doors locked, close all blinds, and arm yourself. Keep silent and wait for further instruction. Should you hear the echoes of a child's laughter that is unfamiliar to you, understand that it is too late to be saved. May Providence be with you all.
Ever since I watched this short, I have been fairly intrigued with the ARG known as Atomville. This creator has posted multiple reels that have interested me, and this is a video subject I've wanted to make a video on since the start of my YouTube channel. And as time has passed, I've begun to know strange intricacies in the videos and different bits of lore that combine to generate some strange, sometimes eerie moments in the series. But before we jump into the ARG, I want to discuss what Atomville is in a historical context. Atomville was a utopian vision for a luxurious city designed by Hungarian emigre Paul Laszlo. The city was created with the intention of surviving a possible nuclear attack alongside housing personnel and equipment for the military. Laszlo was one of the few architects to seriously propose this theory, and thus the city had never escaped the drawing table. Atomville seems to be one of those strange propositions generated from the anxiety of a post-Hiroshima and Nagasaki world where the US was constantly in fear of being attacked by the USSR, likewise with the latter country. But now that we know what Atomville is in a historical context, what is it in this ARG? I will first go over all of the reels and the YouTube video before going into depth on what I feel this series is. So, let's start off with the first broadcast, Atomville Fire Department. This video shows us that the Atomville Fire Department is not like other fire departments that are in the real world. It's rather a service you can call to burn down different places, items, or in the case of those annoying pesky neighbors, you can burn them too. I actually really like this short video because it feels very comedic and over the top, but there are some things I want to point out. Specifically, remember the pesky neighbor and the plant that the fire department was burning in the living room. For now though, that's all for that video, so let's move on to the next one. Bismarck. Bismarck is a reoccurring place in the Atomville series. Similar to the fire department video, I feel this one is a more comedic video, but unlike the fire department broadcast, I think this video is a lot deeper than people realize. But of course, that is for later. Now, the video that started it all for me, The Red Boy, this is the first video that I feel plays into the horror aspect of videos like these. The broadcast is meant to be a set of instructions to protect yourself from said Red Boy. Keep all doors locked, keep blinds closed, arm yourself, hide somewhere in silence, and in the case you hear an unfamiliar child's laughter, it is already too late to be saved. The Red Boy themselves, though, gives off a very eerie vibe, and despite the fact that this is a one-off sort of video, I hope they do something else with the Red Boy because I think the concept is really interesting. But don't read the comments on the Red Boy video, for they are scarier than anything Atomville could prepare us for. The next video is similar to the Red Boy video in the sense that there is a strange creature causing disappearances in the town. It is called a Merswine and disguises itself as a family member calling out to you, hoping you'll come close enough to where it can most likely kill and consume you. The video gives us a warning, telling the viewer that if we see a family member that should not be there, do not approach because it is most likely a Merswine. Similar to the Red Boy video, I hope they do something else with the Merswine concept because it's a really intriguing idea. The next video is the start of a short section in the videos describing an event known as the Bloom. The Bloom is an annual event to which one resident is chosen to consume something known as the Sacred Seed, which turns their body into a living tribute for a character that is introduced to us called the Designer. This event is supposed to celebrate the cycle of life and renewal. Based on the images shown to us, it seems as though the sacred seed is a strange, living being that turns the resident into a plant-like creature. The next video within this short arc of the series shows us that the sacred seed had unexpectedly spread and is now infecting other residents. The broadcast tells us to report any sudden blooming and that a company known as Dim Glow Labs is actively working towards a containment solution. The third and final video in this arc of the series explains that due to recent events, there has been a sharp decline in the population. To address this, households with fewer than 8 offspring are required to travel to the family tree and are required to select an embryo to grow and nurture as part of their family. But if you refuse, you will suffer with extreme punishments at the discretion of the entity known as the designer. From there, the video ends and we transition towards a strange video set up like a nursery rhyme. But before we move on, I want to point out something in relation to the annual bloom. In the video talking about the spreading of the sacred seed, we see multiple homes and items burning, reminding us of the existence of the fire department. But in the fire department video, the plant that they are burning in the home looks awfully similar to the plant that the chosen resident turns into. It gives off the vibe that something similar to this might have taken place before and led to a drastic event similar to the one taking place in these videos. Or this could mean that the fire department broadcast took place after the sacred seed infection across the town, hence why they have video footage of them burning a plant from the sacred seed. But for now, we move on to a video about a man by the name of Old Jed. Old Jed has a strange, unexplained curse that when you touch him, your limbs grow dim and you start to shrink. What I believe this means is that your limbs literally start to melt and you turn into this strange black liquid. But why is poor old Jed cursed like this and how do these things happen? Well, I'll explain that towards the end of the video. The next video discusses the experiment Dim Glow Labs is running to try and reanimate people. Through new technology, they're able to bring life to the lifeless. Something I want to know is that Dim Glow Labs are the people who were in charge of containing the bloom and the spread of the sacred seed. So it is within my belief that Dim Glow Labs is trying to use the sacred seed as a tool to reanimate the dead. How the sacred seed does that, I'm not too sure, but it seems a little too convenient that after the containment of the bloom and sacred seed, they're able to obtain the technology needed to start testing the possibilities of reanimation. The next video is the strangest one in my opinion, which says a lot because all of these videos are strange in their own ways. But reports of a widow have flooded across the town. A widow is an entity disguised as a wet nurse, but then traps the mother and feeds off of the mother's breast milk. It has been reported that the only way to get rid of a widow is by pulling a bloodborne and consuming the umbilical cord. This video is really strange and is the eeriest one in my opinion. But I feel it is a video similar to the Red Boy and Mere Swine, in which it is just a news broadcast describing a creature roaming across the town. The next video is similar to Old Jed in the sense that it's a rhyme. The rhyme explains that Peter had a wife but couldn't keep her, so like a non-controlling husband, trapped her in a pumpkin shell where she lived the rest of her days. Unlike other people who believe this might be related to the bloom like I did initially, I think this is actually a cruel punishment set up by the designer. I'll explain why I feel that is the case in particular towards the end of the video, but for now let's move on to the next video. We see an ad for a place called Burger Babies, a place that seems to revolve around meat. We see in the video multiple depictions of ground beef and cows littered across the entire restaurant. This entire video will be explained later in the theory section, so just put this video on pause. The next broadcast discusses a missing persons case at Atomville High. A custodian by the name of Mr. Black has disappeared and was last seen at the high school. In the video, we can see this strange, spider-like creature appear before Mr. Black and presumably consume him. This video feels like another Red Boy video in which we see a strange creature in this world that terrorizes the community of Atomville. we push forward to the last broadcast before the YouTube video, and this broadcast actually points something out that wasn't really mentioned before. The town of Atomville has a mask mandate, to which everyone above the age of 1 year old is required to wear a mask at all times, and any child that does not do so will be disposed of by command of the designer, and any non-compliance with the mask mandate will result in severe consequences pushed for by the designer. But now, we move on to the YouTube video that caused me to rethink everything about this series. I will separate this video into two sections. The first section will be about the missing children, and the second section will be for the ads and other reports. The broadcast starts off with a report that 4 children have disappeared from other Kepias, I don't know, some women's children's home. It was reported that a staff member awoke to find 4 cribs mysteriously empty without any clues as to how the abduction occurred. That's the end of the first report, giving us a basis for the strangeness of this crime. The next time this crime is reported, the broadcast tells us that there was no signs of any forced entry, but in their search, they found a secret entrance to an unknown area of the building. Alongside this, they found mysterious bodily fluid throughout the children's home. The town is deploying a compliance team to enter this mysterious area, and that is the end of Report 2. The final report reveals that there was a creature called the Glutton that was living in this unknown area of the children's home. It apparently got a hold of the children and the compliance team, so there's a scheduled demolition of the building, and anyone who was still inside will be left as a sacrifice to the Glutton. The rest of the video is littered with strange ads. One ad is a device you put on someone to cause them to sleep quieter, and honestly, it looks pretty effective. I don't think they're going to snore loudly after that, or even get up. The next ad is a product created by Dimglow Labs and is made to unclog pipes. It's basically a long, flexible tube that you breathe in and out of to unclog your toilet and sink, and then you spill it all over the floor. This product does not look very effective, so I think Dimglow Labs is going to take an L for this one. Also, I hate the image of some guy using the tube to pull out whatever was in the clogged toilet and then spilling it all over the floor, and last note, you can buy this from BiffSmart. Now, let's move on to the other 3 reports that take place during this broadcast. The first report is of a strange seismic anomaly that took place on Locust Lane. The broadcaster is suggesting a possible sinkhole that mysteriously looks like a portal to another reality. Any attempt to contact the homeowners of this place has been strictly prohibited, and that's the end of that. The next broadcast is about how interspecies intimacy is not authorized without proper permits. Apparently, violators will face penalties, and notice how they didn't mention the designer when they said that last part. But finally, they discuss the upcoming event known as Creation Day. Creation Day is an event to which everyone in Atomville celebrates the day they were created and pays tributes to the designer to show their appreciation. However, attendance is required, and it seems as though you will face punishment by the designer if you do not comply, similar to the annual Bloom event. Whew, that was a lot of information. Did you catch all of it? No? Well, good thing I'm making this video. For as long as I can remember, people have been trying to figure out the lore of this ARG, and I don't blame them because I've also been trying to figure it out. But I think I found the answer. In fact, I already told you the answer in a way. But I want to phrase it like a crazy conspiracy theory, so here we go. The Atomville ARG series is about the lives of people who have survived a nuclear fallout within the town that Paul Laszlo designed and how they have adapted to the world surrounding them. To build off of this, all creatures such as the Widow, Red Boy, Merswines, and everything else are creatures created by the Fallout event, and these broadcasts are warnings to the town of the creatures invading Atomville. But now I'm getting a little too ahead of myself. I'll start with the aspect of this series I find most interesting and give the explanation that made my parents look at me like I was a crazy person while sitting in a Taco Bell parking lot. The designer that has been mentioned throughout the series is Paul Laszlo, but not in the flesh. I believe that he designed Atomville, and, unlike in reality, the town was built. People began living there and everything was fine and dandy until a fallout came, wiping out humanity except for those who lived in Atomville. Because the people survived thanks to the Atomville and its creation, they worship Paul Laszlo as some sort of deity of life and creation because he created a way to protect them. That is why they hold the designer to such high regard and require everyone to be present during the celebrations. And, side note, I like how in the annual Bloom and Creation Day, everyone is wearing a white ceremonial kind of mask, which is an interesting way of conveying how important these events are. And for those of you asking how the designer is able to punish the people who do not attend, well, Atomville most likely has its own governing office that helps to run the town, and they most likely punish people in the ways that they see fit. We see that Atomville has most other basic things like a town would have, like a grocery store, a high school, and a restaurant. So why wouldn't they have a governing office? And so now comes the crazy part of this series. Given that Atomville now has a governing office, we can assume that everyone has to go there in order to get permits or figure things out in relation to the town and the way they live. But you remember the strange section in the YouTube video about interspecies intimacy? Yeah, I do too, and honestly, it was a kind of strange thing to put in the broadcast, but I think I have an explanation for it. You see, if we return to the mask mandate video, we can see that everyone is required to wear a mask and anyone who doesn't will be either discarded or punished. I believe the reason that is the case is because the people who do not wear the mask will begin to turn to these monstrous entities, such as Peter from the Peter Pumpkin Eater video, or animal-like entities that we see in the interspecies intimacy section of the last broadcast. And so, if this is the case, what is the punishment for those who do not have a permit or for those who don't wear the mask? I'm still trying to figure out the punishment for not wearing a mask, but as for the punishment if interspecies intimacy is caught, well, let's take a look at a certain video again.
Our meat department offers selections of the finest meats in town. Our locally sourced meat is so fresh you can still feel its pulse. You won't find cuts like ours anywhere else. Biff Smart, you could stay forever.
And so, yeah, I believe that Atomville literally traps these people and eats them. So, now you may be asking, is this the end of my theory? Well, not exactly. There's still a little more to be discussed. Dimglow Labs seems to be a sort of organization that runs the research of the world Atomville resides in. Like I said before, I believe that Dimglow Labs did use the sacred seed to try and find a way to resurrect the dead, but they also seem to sell products and make money rather than be completely funded by the government. They really went from trying to reanimate the dead to creating this disgusting waste of money. But this does show us that Dimglow Labs are an engineering-based company that works to research, create, and possibly contain anomalous entities. It seems like they are their own entity from the Atomville government, hence why they were there with the fire department during the Sacred Seed outbreak, but they may also work with the government to research beings like the Red Boy and the Widow. They may also be the ones responsible for containing these creatures rather than the government. But now that we're done with what I will call the three branches of the Atomville theory, I'll go ahead and make the claims that fit into these theories but don't have much, if any, evidence to back them. And we'll start with Old Jed. Old Jed is a radiation victim, and he was exposed to so much radiation that he is able to touch someone and cause them to melt with radiation. So he's kind of like I don't even know if I want to say a superhero. I guess he's like a supervillain, but I don't know. That's just what I think his curse. There was a sacred seed outbreak before, and the video of the fire department burning the plant in the living room is the evidence I will use for that, as stated before. The pesky neighbor in the fire department broadcast is the glutton in the missing children broadcast. The broadcasters in some of the videos are actually the Red Boy or supporters of the Red Boy due to their red mask and visible horns. For my final theory, the dog seen in the fire department broadcast is one of the few entities to get an interspecies intimacy permit, and that's why they are allowed to work and to live life rather than turn into one of the meats at BiffSmart. But sadly, this is the end of the topic of this video. Atomville is something I've been interested in for a long time, and I'm really glad I was able to spend the time to cover this series and theorize about its meanings. If you all have anything you'd like to add, please share it in the comments down below and I'll be sure to read them all. But for now, this is the section of the video where I start yapping. And there's not really much to say. I haven't really had anything exciting going on, but thank you all for the support and everything. It means a lot. But I hope you all have a great morning, night, day, afternoon, whatever time it is, and I will see you all in the next video.